The moment the offer from Sterling arrived, I raced to find Ethan. I pushed the door open and saw, in a single glance, 2 identical offer letters from Novatech glowing on his screen, one addressed to him, one to my best friend. Ethan came down the stairs. When he saw me, his eyes slid away. "Why didn't you apply to Sterling?" My voice shook. "Luna said she was scared the north would be too cold. She's your best friend, so I have to stay with her, right? You'll understand, Serena." His voice was soft, a feather landing on a frozen lake. A bitter laugh escaped me. Ethan and I had been childhood sweethearts, and now, because my best friend was scared of northern winters, I had become the outsider. I stood motionless, crushing the Stanford letter in my fist. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. 3 months earlier I had taken my best friend to meet my boyfriend so we could plan our internships together, applications, resumes, even a rented apartment up north. Never, in my worst nightmare, had I pictured this. When I said nothing, Ethan stepped closer and reached for my hand. "Serena, we promised to understand each other. Luna would be terrified alone in a strange city." "I'm only what?" I cut him off quietly, lifting my eyes to his. "Only thinking she needs you more than I do? Or that our 7 years weigh less than her whim?" My voice was calm, so calm it startled me. "When your heart truly dies, there is no fire left." He froze, lips parted, but no words came. Then Luna's voice drifted from the landing. "Serena, don't misunderstand." I turned. She stood on the twist of the stairs in the pink pajamas we'd picked out together, fingers knotted. "It's my fault," she whispered, eyes red as a startled rabbit. "I shouldn't have said I'm scared of the cold. You know I get that cough every winter. So you convinced my boyfriend to stay south with you?" I cut in, a cold smile hooking my mouth. 10 years, Luna. When did you become such an expert at playing the victim? Her face drained of color, tears fell on command. "How can you think that? I was only talking with Ethan about job hunting. We both happened to get Novatech offers." "Happened?" I strode to his desk and tapped the screen. "Same application day, same interview day, same offer day. That many coincidences. Do I look stupid?" Ethan finally barked, "Enough. Serena, must you be so aggressive? Luna is your best friend, is this how you see her?" "My best friend?" I echoed, then laughed aloud. "Yes, my best friend and the man I loved, plotting a future behind my back, locking me out. And I'm the aggressive one?" I drew the Sterling offer from my bag and smoothed it slowly. "Ethan, remember sophomore winter when we visited the ice sculptures?" I asked softly. He flinched, gaze flickering. "It was 20 below. I couldn't feel my fingers or toes, and you said," I swallowed the choke in my throat, "you'd take me north one day because the snow there is pure, like our love." For an instant his expression cracked, then settled back into indifference. "Childish promises," he muttered, looking away. The last warmth in my chest evaporated. "Understood." I nodded, folded the Sterling letter with care, and slipped it into my bag. I walked to the coffee table and picked up the thermos mug I'd left behind last winter, the one I'd given him, engraved with both our initials. "What are you doing?" he demanded. I didn't answer. I unscrewed the lid and poured the still warm green tea into the trash. "Serena." He stepped forward. I shoved the empty mug into his hand. "Yours." When I turned, Luna was still on the stairs, a flicker of triumph in her eyes. I headed straight for the door and never looked back. "Serena." Ethan called after me, panic threading his voice. "Where are you going?" I pulled the door open. Early summer wind from the north hit my face, carrying the scent of acacia blossoms. "Somewhere." I paused, "that won't freeze my heart." As the door shut, I heard Luna's honeyed apology. "Ethan, I'm so sorry, it's all my fault." Out on the sunlit street, I took out my phone and blocked every trace of Ethan and Luna. Then I emailed Sterling HR, *, "I've received your offer and will report on time. Looking forward to joining the team. *, tears came, tears of release, not sorrow. Winter in the north is brutal, but it is never colder than a lover's betrayal. Snow melts in the end. And in the northern city waiting for me, they say spring arrives late, yet when it comes, it arrives in a single, overwhelming tide. Just like the woman I am about to become." 3 months later, I stood in Sterling's headquarters training room delivering the new hire presentation. A beam from the projector slashed through the air as I walked the audience through my market analysis model. Supervisors and fellow trainees filled the front rows. In the last row sat several suited executives. "Therefore, the breakthrough in traditional energy transformation lies in." I clicked to the next slide, gaze sweeping the room, then froze on the figure in the back row. Ethan. He wore a tailored charcoal suit with a Novatech badge on his lapel, leaning close to Sterling's VP. Beside him sat Luna in champagne business attire, smile impeccable. My fingertips chilled, yet my voice stayed steady, a dual engine of technological innovation and policy support. Applause rippled when I finished. My supervisor rose, beaming. Serena's model is remarkably forward-looking. Since our Novatech colleagues are visiting, let's share perspectives. Ethan stood, eyes locking on mine. We just piloted this model at Novatech. Imagine my surprise to see Vance spotlighting it. He called me Vance. Luna moved to his side, slipping an arm through his. Ethan's now marketing director at Novatech. We're here to explore cooperation with Sterling. The diamond on her ring finger flashed like a blade. Congratulations. ICLO. Said my laptop. I have work to do. Excuse me. Wait. Ethan held out an invitation, fingers trembling almost imperceptibly. There's an industry reception tonight. I hope Vance can attend. I pocketed the card. Depends on my schedule. I showed up anyway. Crystal chandeliers blazed over the hotel ballroom, and I stood at the floor-to-ceiling window swirling champagne, staring at northern stars. The stars really are brighter up here, Ethan said behind me. His tie was loose, he carried 2 whiskeys. Director Sterling, I answered without taking the glass, what can I do for you? A bitter smile tugged his mouth. Must we talk like that? Serena. Are we close? I turned. Or do you even remember that we once were? He was silent, then, Luna and I, it's not what you think. And what do I think? I gave a soft laugh. That you applied for jobs behind my back, planned a life without me, and now followed me north to keep performing? Or simply, I eyed his whiskey, you're here to toast the next act. His expression flickered. Sterling and Novatech are about to finalize a strategic partnership, I'm the project lead. Coming north is purely job assigned, nothing to do with you. Then let's keep it professional. I set down the crystal flute. Excuse me. A hand locked around my wrist. I'm sorry. His voice was almost a whisper. That day. I should have explained. I tugged free and saw Luna gliding across the ballroom, smile flawless. Ethan, Chairman David is looking for you. She slipped naturally to his side, then turned to me. Serena, I heard you're renting on Frost? We just bought a flat there, neighbor soon. I swirled the champagne and laughed. How convenient, I'm moving tomorrow. Why? Ethan blurted. Because, I took a sip, the company's giving me an apartment, right above the executive floor. I left them frozen in place and walked straight to Chase, who had just entered. He took my glass without missing a beat and told his assistant. Bring Vance a mug of sober-up tea upstairs. Under 100 stunned stares I followed him to the private lift. As the door slid shut I saw Ethan shove through the crowd, stopped cold by security. X? Chase tapped the button for the penthouse. Deceased. I leaned against the wall and exhaled. Thanks for the rescue, boss. He chuckled. Don't mention it. But the apartment is real, your new energy model passed the board unanimously. The cabin rose slowly, the northern city glittering beyond the glass. The ice of the past was thawing inch by inch. The real match had only just begun. The elevator stopped at 28, the doors opened in silence. Chase stepped out first. At the far end of the corridor, double doors swung aside to reveal a skytop flat. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city's lights spilled like a galaxy. Groceries in the fridge, latest industry reports in the study. He handed me a key card. 7 a.m., I want the first framework of the cooperation plan. I pocketed the card. Regarding Novatech. It's yours to handle. He paused at the threshold. I only look at results. The door shut softly. I stood alone in the vast living room until my phone vibrated, Ethan's name flashing. I picked up, his voice was low, furious. What exactly is your relationship with Chase? Professional. Then why did he take you to his private penthouse? Everyone in Sterling knows that floor is off limits. I moved to the window and looked down at toy-sized streets. Director Sterling, in what capacity are you questioning my private affairs? Silence stretched. When he spoke again he sounded exhausted. Serena, can we talk? Things aren't what you think. Such as? Luna and I. He hesitated. We'd already broken up the day we got the Novatech offers. Below, an ambulance tore through the night, strobes painting red scars across the glass. And so? I asked quietly. So my coming north isn't just for work. His voice dropped. I want to win. You back. My fingertip traced a faint white line across the cold pane. I remembered sophomore winter, how he had held my hand and written our initials in frost, our smiles blurred by warm breath. Too late. I ended the call. I opened my laptop and worked. At 3 a.m. the draft was done. I brewed coffee and stood on the balcony, watching the city blink awake. The northern dawn carried a biting green scent. I thought of the southern city that stayed humid year-round, of the way Ethan had avoided my eyes when he said, "Luna's afraid the north will be too cold." Apparently he wasn't cold anymore. My phone lit. Chase, look down. I glanced below. A familiar black sedan idled at the curb. Ethan leaned against it, cigarette glowing, staring up. Need security? Chase texted. No, I've got it, I replied. I set the cup aside, changed into a sharp skirt suit. In the mirror my eyes were clear, no trace of the fragility from 3 months ago. At 7 sharp I walked into Chase's office with the proposal. He skimmed, lips curving. Excellent. 9 o'clock negotiation, you take the lead. Me? If you want revenge, he closed the folder, gazed steely, deliver the fatal blow yourself, don't you? The conference room felt dense enough to wring water from air. Ethan led the Novatech team, Luna sat beside him, murmuring. When I took Sterling's central seat, her smile iced over. Let's begin. I opened the projector. Regarding Sterling Novatech cooperation in new energy, we find your proposed clauses. For 2 hours I dismantled every disadvantageous line. Ethan's eyes never left me, storm dark. During the break I met Luna in the pantry. You planned this, didn't you? She hissed, grip tightening on my wrist. Seduced Chase, hijacked the project, pure revenge. I stirred my coffee slowly. Sterling, professionalism, please. She yanked harder. You think he actually wants you? You're just a weapon against Novatech. Once you're dull, let go of her. Ethan's voice cut in. He strode over and pulled Luna away. Mind the setting. She stared, stunned. You're siding with her? I said mind the setting. His gaze fixed on me. Serena, 5 minutes, alone? I checked my watch. 4 until recess ends. Then 4 minutes. The rooftop wind whipped our coats. Ethan inhaled sharply. Headquarters ordered me to stay north long term. Congratulations on the promotion. The day you said we were over, he stepped closer. I never agreed. I laughed. Agreement required? Yes. His hands closed over my shoulders. Because the reason was a misunderstanding. Luna and I were never what you imagined. Then what were you? I stared straight at him. Friends who secretly applied to the same firm? Who exchanged rings the weekend you flew south? He froze. Ring? The negotiation ended abruptly. Chase strode in and announced Sterling was terminating all talks with Novatech. While jaws dropped, he turned to me. Vance, North America has an emergency project, fly tomorrow. Ethan shot up. Chase, this is, Director Sterling. Chase cut in, an internal Sterling decision. In the corridor Ethan pressed a slip of paper into my hand, an address and tonight 8, the whole truth. I crushed it and dropped it into a waste bin. Some truths arrive too late to matter, like northern spring, however brilliant, can't thaw ice that has frozen all winter. Over the Pacific the plane lurched into turbulence. I clutched the armrest and watched clouds convulse. Beside me Chase closed his laptop. Scared? Just remembering my first flight, same kind of jolt. Back then Ethan had gripped my hand and sworn if we went down, we'd go together. Chase offered a water cup. The North America branch doesn't lack staff, it lacks a project manager brave enough to say no to Novatech. You've known about Ethan and me all along? Your resume lists your ex as a Novatech employee. He raised an eyebrow. Do I look like the kind of man who makes losing investments? The plane had leveled off and the cabin crew began wheeling out the meal carts. I flipped open the screen embedded in the seat back in front of me. A business channel was running a headline about Novatech's share price free fall. The shot cut to Ethan outside his company gates, cornered by reporters. He'd lost weight. He stared at the lenses without a word. Feeling sorry for him? Chase asked. I killed the screen. I'm calculating how much Sterling made on the play. Chase gave a low laugh. There's a North American buyout on the table. It's yours. My first week in San Francisco I practically lived in conference rooms. Every exec on the target team was a shark, but whenever my energy flagged I summoned the memory of the way Ethan had looked at me across the negotiating table, shock glazed with regret, and the jolt was better than espresso. Late on Friday I finally inked the deal. Back at the hotel the concierge called after me, Vance, flowers for you. A huge armful of ice blue roses, native to the north, wrapped in midnight paper. No sender's name, only a line in familiar handwriting. The stars here aren't as bright as they are back home. I tossed the bouquet into the trash. The second week Chase flew in to supervise. After the progress review he took me for a walk on Golden Gate. 3 years ago I stood right here and thought about jumping, he said out of nowhere. Betrayed by the person I trusted most, the company circling the drain. The wind whipped his hair, I listened in silence. Then I realized, only the weak stay shackled to the past. He turned to me. You're strong, Serena, but not strong enough yet. What do you mean? He handed me an envelope. Inside was an investigation report on Ethan and Luna. They had never really been a couple. The ring Luna flashed had been bought with her own money. Her father sat on Novitek's board and had threatened to torpedo my career unless Ethan played along. Why show me this only now? My fingers crumple. The pages. Tell you earlier, would you have had the stomach to take Novitek down? His gaze was razor sharp. Mercy to your enemy is cruelty to yourself. Never forget that. Back in my room I rehearsed a smile in the mirror, then dialed Ethan's number. I'm in San Francisco, he said. Can we meet? We arranged to see each other in the rooftop bar. He arrived drenched, he'd run into a protest march. A waiter brought towels and he scrubbed at his hair, looking exactly like the college boy who used to come off the soccer field in the rain. I've read the report, I said, swirling my glass. Why didn't you explain sooner? A bitter smile tugged at his lips. Luna's father controls 30% of Novitek. You'd just joined Sterling, he swore he'd destroy you. I thought keeping my distance was the only way to protect you. So you pushed me away in the most brutal way possible? I was wrong. He reached for my hand, then pulled back. I've regretted it every single day for 3 months. Give me another chance, Ran. I stared at the liquid light trembling in my glass. The apology I'd once craved night after night had finally arrived, yet my heart was eerily calm. Too late, I said. The girl who gave you her gloves at the ice sculpture exhibit and froze her own fingers stayed behind in last winter. His eyes reddened. What do I have to do for you to forgive me? Take Novitek back. I set the glass down. Your father was once the majority shareholder. How many of his old loyalists are still with you? He froze. You want me to either reclaim Novitek or vanish for good. I stood. Pick one. As I left he shouted after me, and if I pull it off? I didn't look back. In the elevator Chase texted, outcome? I replied, seed planted. We'll wait for bloom. Outside, the San Francisco night glittered. The world has never believed in tears, it believes only in power. And what I want is no longer someone's turning back. 3 months later. Novitek's annual general meeting. I sat beside Chase and watched Ethan climb the steps to the podium. He'd dropped a little more weight, the suit accentuating every clean line, his gaze sweeping the hall and lingering on me for a breath. Luna sat next to her father, face chalk white. She tried to rise, the bodyguard behind her pressed her down. Share ownership confirmation shows Ethan holding 41% of Novitek, the lawyer announced. Uproar rippled through the chamber. Ethan took the microphone. Effective immediately, I assumed the chairmanship of Novitek. His eyes found me through the chaos, he mouthed 3 silent words, I could read them, I did it. Chase chuckled softly. Congratulations, your pawn is surprisingly capable. He's not a pawn, I said, stacking my folders. He's a partner. After the meeting Ethan intercepted me in the corridor. Can we talk now? We stood at a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking a plaza jammed with reporters. He handed me a document pouch, evidence of Luna's father embezzling corporate funds. Enough to keep him in prison for 20 years, he said. Now will you forgive me? I gazed at the tiny figures below. Remember the senior who used to pick on me in college? His family went bankrupt a year later. Ethan's pupils contracted. That was you? First lesson Chase taught me, the best revenge is outliving your enemy so thoroughly he disappears in your rearview mirror. I turned to him. I forgive you, but we can't go back. The light in his eyes guttered out. On the drive back to Sterling, Chase suddenly told the chauffeur to head for the airport. North American Division needs a chief, he said, handing me a ticket. You're the best fit. I accepted the boarding pass. What's your real reason this time? 2. His irises were dark tide pools. 1. You need distance from this snake pit. 2. He rarely hesitated, he did now. I'm afraid if you stay longer I'll do something unprofessional. As the plane lifted I opened the envelope he had slipped me, transfer papers and a handwritten note. That night in San Francisco I wasn't thinking of suicide, I was thinking of rebirth. You reborn me. Clouds surged past the window, I closed my eyes. 3 years later, Sterling America HQ. My assistant knocked. Vance, Sterling of Novitek is here about a partnership. I didn't lift my head. Tell him I'm in a meeting. He said, he'll wait. At dusk I stepped out. Ethan waited at the far end of the corridor, 2 coffees in hand. Americano, double sugar, he said, offering one. Still your favorite. I took the cup. What can Novitek do for Sterling today? I want to supervise the joint venture myself. He held my gaze. Also, I'm divorced. The cardboard scorched my fingertips. I'd had no idea he had married, clearly to Luna. For the joint project, contact business development, I said, pressing the elevator call. Personal matters, off the table. He blocked the doors with an arm. I think about you every day, all 3 years. Thinking about how I helped you get Novatech back. Thinking about you in that San Francisco bar saying, too late. His voice was husky. That was when I knew exactly what I'd thrown away. The door slid shut between us, sealing off the pain in his eyes. Back home, Chase video called from a Swiss ski slope, white peaks blazing behind him. He came to see you? The lens asked. His goggles hid too much. Your decision? I stared at New York's jeweled darkness outside my window. The love and hate that once felt carved in stone had quietly eroded. All I want now is a cup of coffee at dawn, a lamp left on at night, and a career worth my life. I've requested a transfer to Geneva, I said. The winters here are too long. Chase pushed the goggles up, amusement warmed his irises. When do you land? Next week. I smiled back. Reserve me a hot pot table. I had barely ended the call when the doorbell rang. Ethan stood outside, a thick folder under his arm. I know how absurd this sounds, he rasped, but can we start over? This time I won't let go. Behind him, New York began to snow. Flakes settled on his shoulders, just like the first snowfall that winter in the north. Snow melts, unfortunately, and the road must still be traveled. Goodbye, Ethan. When I shut the door, I saw a glint of tears in his eyes, but this time I did not look back. Some roads, once walked, are simply finished. Rather than stubbornly turn around, it is better to keep walking forward until you reach a place where flowers bloom in spring. The snow was falling hard in Switzerland. I tightened my coat and waited for Chase beside Lake Geneva. He was late, something that almost never happened. My phone vibrated with a message from Ethan. I bought your favorite pastry shop in New York, only to find you're not there anymore. I didn't reply. For the past 3 months he had sent messages like that every few days, a punctual cuckoo reminding me of the time he wasted me. Sorry to keep you. Chase's voice came from behind. He handed me a cup of hot chocolate, snow dust still clinging to his lashes. Company emergency? Personal. He nodded toward the opposite shore. Bought a house, just signed the papers. It was a lakefront villa whose terrace faced Mont Blanc. Buying property in Switzerland as a non-resident is almost impossible, buried in red tape. How did you manage it? I started the application 3 years ago. He said it lightly. At the time I thought, maybe one day you'll want to stay. The sweetness of the hot chocolate steamed into the cold air as we walked the lake path in silence, snow crunching under our shoes. Ethan is looking for you, Chase said suddenly. I know. He applied for a Swiss visa. I stopped. The lake mirrored the Alps like a watercolor still drying. Chase, I asked softly, why are you so good to me? He turned to face me, snow falling between us. Because. His phone rang. When he hung up, his expression shifted. Ethan's had an accident, in Zurich. The hospital reeked of disinfectant. Ethan lay in bed, his left leg in a cast. When he saw me, he tried to push himself up. Don't move. I pressed him back. What happened? Speeding, the officer at the door said. Ran 3 red lights. When we were alone, he seized my hand. I just wanted to reach you faster. His palm was fever hot, laced with half-healed cuts. I tried to pull away, but he held tighter. Luna's child wasn't mine, he rushed to explain. The marriage was forced by her father and lasted 2 months. I didn't know until the day she miscarried. It doesn't matter anymore. It does. His voice cracked. I've regretted it every single day these 3 years. Let's start over, please? Outside the window, alpine peaks caught the sunset like gold leaf. I remembered years ago when we had sat like this in another hospital, he with a fracture from basketball, me skipping class to stay with him. I thought then we would always have each other. Do you remember, I said quietly, senior year when you promised to bring me to the Alps? His eyes lit up. Yes. I said I would propose on the snow-covered mountain. But then you forgot. I cut him off. On graduation day you went with Luna to pick out presents. He froze, his eyes slowly reddening. Chase appeared in the doorway holding a payment slip. Ethan jerked upright. You told her I was here? The traffic police called the emergency contact in your phone, Chase answered evenly. You never changed it from 3 years ago. Ethan collapsed back onto the pillow as if all strength had left him. I followed Chase into the corridor. At the far end he suddenly asked, do you still love him? Sunlight slanted through the blinds, striping the floor with light and shadow. Like watching an old movie, I said. I remember every scene, but I won't cry again. He nodded and handed me a file. Singapore N. Ed someone, the branch opens next month. I took the reassignment letter. This time he did not ask me to stay. The day I left Switzerland, Ethan came to the airport in a wheelchair. I'll wait for you. He pressed a velvet box into my hand. This time I'll be the one chasing. After takeoff I opened the box. A snowflake diamond ring, inside the band engraved with our initials and the very date he had stood me up for the Alps. I dropped the ring into the air sickness bag and sealed it. A flight attendant brought champagne. I sipped. At 30,000 feet the past drifted away like cloud layers. Some wounds, once scarred, need never be reopened. Some people, once missed, need never meet again. Ahead, an entire sky waited for me to soar. Singapore's air was humid, utterly unlike the dry cold of the north. I stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of my new office overlooking gardens by the bay. Chase texted, "Settled? All good. Thanks for the flowers." On the desk were the tropical orchids he had sent. Beside them a parcel that arrived this morning from Ethan, exquisite candies and a card. "Remember you crave sweets when you're upset." I shared the candy with colleagues. Right after the kickoff meeting for the new project my assistant knocked, flustered. "Dance, a Sterling is at reception. He says he'll wait." I checked my calendar. "Tell him I'm out." He said, "He'll keep waiting." At dusk a downpour burst. I stepped out of the lift and saw Ethan at the building entrance, half his suit darkened by rain. "The rain in Singapore comes fast," he remarked, unable to hide his exhaustion. "Business?" He produced a folder from inside his jacket. The papers were somehow still dry. "Novatech wants to partner with Sterling. I'm personally handling the project." I skimmed the terms, so generous they felt more like philanthropy than commerce. "Why?" "Because it's the only excuse I have to get near you." Raindrops slid from his hair. "Ran, I'm not asking you to give me today, just for a chance to let you know me again." Footsteps sounded behind me. Chase stood beneath an umbrella, gaze moving between us. "Fancy meeting you," Ethan said stiffly. "There are 6 flights a day from Singapore to Shanghai," Chase replied coolly. "No need to transit, Sterling." The rain thickened, we three formed a silent tableau. Finally I spoke. "I'll review the proposal. Good evening." As Ethan left he glanced back, that same reluctant look he used to give outside my dorm when we were freshmen. "Softened?" Chase asked. "I was wondering why he always shows up in rain," I said, walking back inside. "Like he's staging a melodrama." Chase chuckled. "I'm off to Dubai next week, Energy Summit. Care to join?" I shook my head. "New project just launched, I can't leave." He studied me. Avoiding me? The lift mirrors reflected our figures. For 3 years Chase had kept a precise distance, a hunter patient beside his prey. "I signed a 3-year contract," I said. "Until it ends I focus on work. Contracts can be renewed." "And then?" The lift reached the top floor, the doors slid open. He didn't answer, only straightened my collar. "Rest early." That night I dreamed of the first snow up north. Ethan was building 2 snowmen, hand in hand. When I woke my pillow was damp. In the morning meeting I approved the Novatech partnership. On the video screen Ethan's eyes lit up. "I'll fly over as soon as possible to finalize the details. Online will suffice." "Certain technical handovers must be done in person," he insisted. He arrived sooner than expected. On the third dawn I stepped outside and found him holding 2 iced Americanos with double sugar. "Your favorite," he said, smiling. I took the paper cup of coffee. "The tech files are with the project team. No rush." He fell into step beside me. "Should I book time with Vance tonight? I hear the Marina Bay lights are beautiful." Inside the elevator he said suddenly, "I quit smoking." "Congratulations. You once said you hated the smell." His voice was almost a whisper. "I remember everything you ever told me." In the mirrored wall our eyes met for a moment. For that instant it felt as though the years rolled back and we were still the people we had been before he betrayed me. The moment passed. "Meeting starts at 9, I said, stepping out. "Get the files ready." The collaboration moved with surprising ease. Ethan displayed a level of professionalism that even our most exacting technical director praised over and over. At the Friday team building night he sat in the corner of the karaoke bar and sang 10 years. When the cheering died down he looked straight at me. "Some mistakes can't be repaid even in 10 years. I excused myself to the restroom and ran into Chase in the corridor. He had clearly just landed, dust from the road clung to his coat. "Looks like I picked the wrong time," he said, glancing toward the private room. "It's only work." He handed me a velvet box. "Bought it in Dubai." Inside lay a diamond bracelet, its pendant shaped like a snowflake. "It's too much." As long as it suits you. He fastened it around my wrist. Singapore is too hot, thought you could use a little coolness. When I walked back in, Ethan was holding the microphone. The next song goes to someone important. Chase pushed open the door, took the mic from Ethan's hand as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Sorry I'm late. I'll take the next track. The two men stared at each other under the shifting disco lights, electricity crackling in the air between them. I picked up my bag. I'm pulling overtime tomorrow. I'm heading out. Night wind brushed my face as I walked alone along the Marina Bay promenade. Footsteps sounded behind me, one man fell in on each side. I'll drive you home, Ethan said. My car is right ahead, Chase said at exactly the same moment. I stopped and gazed at the Ferris wheel gleaming in the distance. Do you know? I said softly. One full turn of the Singapore takes 32 minutes, long enough to think many things through. Both waited in silence. I've applied for the Antarctic Research Station, I said. Sterling and the Polar Institute run a 2-year project. I leave soon. Ethan's hand clamped around my wrist. Why? Chase's brows drew together. That environment is brutal. Because it is far, I told them, and quiet. Far away, the great wheel kept turning, round and round, never looking back, just like fate. This time I would go to the end of the world and find the self I had lost. The snow in Antarctica is blue. Outside the station windows the midnight sun brushed the glaciers with a cold, pale glow. Wrapped in my down parka, I logged the last batch of data. I had been here 1 year and 3 months. The silence of the pole was healing things I had not known were broken. Vance, package for you. A young team member lugged in an insulated crate. Came in on the special flight, cost enough to buy a sports car. Inside were fresh tropical fruit and a note. Ethan's handwriting looked as if he had practiced every stroke. No matter how busy the research, don't forget your vitamin C. Novatech has set up a polar research fund, hope it helps. I cut up the mangoes and shared them with the crew. The letter went into my drawer with 17 identical envelopes that arrived like clockwork every month. A video call window blinked. Chase, with the New York headquarters behind him. I need a partner for next week's polar forum, he said. Ready to come back? The project isn't finished. He was quiet for a second. Ethan bought the land across from the station. Says he's building a supply depot. Through the window I could see work lights flickering on the empty ice. Let him. After the call I went on sorting data. Beside the computer sat the crystal sphere Chase had sent last year, a single tiny snowflake sealed inside. He claimed it was the first FALL of the Arctic, almost the same as the Antarctic. It isn't. Arctic snow is soft, Antarctic snow cuts like a blade. Some people treat you gently, others guard you in silence. These days, I only need the ice. The day we set out for Dome, a whiteout struck without warning. We were stranded in the field, comms dead, fuel running low while the storm held. The team leader was still wrestling with the radio when an engine snarled through the wind. A modified snowcap burst out of the white, and Chase jumped down, stubble on his jaw caked with frost. Satellite showed you vanished, he barked, shoving a heavier parka at me. Can you walk? How did you? I bankroll a polar rescue squad, he said, hauling me up. Talk later. On the ride back he said nothing until the station lights appeared, then, eyes on the dash, he muttered, a year ago, when you said you were coming south, I thought it was just anger. And now? Now I know, he said, turning to me, you really don't need anyone. Another snowcat idled at the gate. Ethan stood beside it, a thermos mug in his hand. When he saw us his face darkened. I brewed ginger soup, he said, voice hoarse. Heard you were in trouble. Chase stepped forward. Sterling has good intel. I keep people here, Ethan shot back, unashamed. I was afraid she'd disappear again. Snow shrieked across the ice while the two of them faced each other. Weariness washed over me. Go home, both of you, I said. Antarctica is not for you. That night I wrote an email requesting an extension of my assignment. Before I hit send, a text pinged in from Chase, I fly out tomorrow. Can I have an answer first? I rang him. Is an answer that important? 3 years waiting, I'd like a verdict. Outside, the aurora began its dance, green ribbons unfurling across the black. Chase, what do you love about me? Long silence. The way you give no ground across a negotiation table. The way you said too late in that San Francisco bar. The nerve that lets you come to Antarctica alone. The lights flared brighter, flooding the ice. But Chase, I said softly, why would a woman like that choose either of you? Only his breathing answered. I've applied to the new Greenland project, I said. This time, don't follow. I hung up and erased every contact. Ethan's insulated crates still arrived monthly, I sent them back unopened. The last time I saw him was a chance encounter in the Greenland Airport Transit Hall. He had lost weight. He smiled at me across the crowd but did not approach. That was perfect, like Antarctic snow, keeping the exact distance required. As the plane lifted, I opened the box Chase had sent at the end. There was no gift, only a share transfer deed. He had signed his entire sterling stake over to me. The note read a single line: "You were right, such a woman needs no one's shelter." Clouds surged outside the window. I closed my eyes. Love should never be a patch for frostbite, it should be embroidery on brocade. When I am already brocade, the past can scatter with the wind. The world is wide, and endless futures wait for a woman who belongs to no one but herself. Thanks for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and share with friends. We look forward to your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more wonderful stories. See you next time.